Hey there YouTube, this is Aisha and this is VEDA Day 26. And today I'm here to have a book discussion or a book reading discussion with you guys on the subject of romance. Now I watched a couple of videos a couple of months ago and I never wrote the video vloggers names down, but I did write down my reaction to the videos. And in the videos, a few of the vloggers were very dismissive of the romance genre when they were talking about books they read or didn't read. And almost everyone seems to have that same view, particularly when I watched the Not Safe for Work book tag that a lot of people did a couple months ago, almost a year ago now, that I also did. And I watched people's reactions to it, and almost everyone had the, God no, that's so nasty, why would you read that? Romance is looked down upon by so many people, and I never understood why. Personally, to me, I see it as when people look down on romance, it's one of the few genres. You have to consider that romance is one of the few genres out there that is dominated by women. Written by women, read by women, published by women, edited by women. Romance genre is one of the most powerful sections of fiction and the book reading world that women control. Our top writers are women. Our top readers are women. Romance genre, to me, being looked down upon, is both elitist, misogynistic, classist, and not to mention ageist. Because a lot of people seem to believe that the only people that read romance are older women. I'm a young woman, and I've been reading romance since I was in 7th or 8th grade. I'm in my 30s now. Okay. Romance is looked down upon, I believe, by many people because it's the only genre where it's female dominated. While there are men like Nicholas Sparks writing romance novels, they cannot contend with the powerhouses of Danielle Steele, Laverne Spencer, Julie Garwood, Nora Roberts, Kristen Hanna, or any of the many other women that are top sellers, including, yes, E.L. James. Not to mention the fact that romance has many different subgenres. So while you may not consider romance, while you may not consider the book you're reading a romance, there's so many subgenres in romance that you could be reading a romance without knowing it. Romance has a historical, erotica, paranormal, contemporary, thriller, mystery, romantic suspense, classic romance, futuristic, and dystopian. When you consider that some of the major titles that are under the classics, that are well known and considered great stories, many of them, if you look at them, are romantic stories. There's a romantic tragedy in Romeo and Juliet, and if it was written today, would be considered a new adult. With all the angst and all the very bad decisions. Pride and Prejudice, one of the most celebrated romance stories ever written, is a romance story, whether you like to think about it that way or not. Little Women, Emma, Jane Eyre, a great story talking about the repression of sexuality and the desire to love and be loved, but not expressing that love in a healthy manner. Sci-fi also has had romantic reasons for many of the things that are invented in their books. In H.G. Wells' The Time Machine, the very machine is created because the scientists wished to go back to a time where his love existed, and incidentally went to a future where his love didn't exist, and he found love differently. When you also consider that romance is one of the few genres in which authors of color are allowed to express themselves and create characters that are like themselves. It is one of the few genres where I've seen interracial relationships that mirror the relationships that are in my family. I've seen positive relationships of black couples mirroring those that I see in my family. Strong black women who are successful in doing well, much like the women in my family. Romance and interracial romance are one of the few genres in which black characters or characters of minority are seen in a positive light, other than, of course, books written by us in the fiction genre, which don't get as much light as they should. Interracial romance exists Whereas when you read fiction books or literary fiction, unless it's to teach some lesson, interracial romance almost never exists there. Romance was also the first place I met a character who was physically flawed. Kathleen Anderson wrote books in which her characters, female characters, were handicapped, characters were going blind, and still managed to find love. Danielle Steele was the first time I read, outside of a classic, about rape and experienced the character's growth and her dealing with the repercussions of said rape. Romance is also like a time capsule of our culture. Pick up a book from the 1980s and you will see the different themes than you do now, in the way the characters are portrayed, in the very activities the characters pursue, and the fact that their concept and ideas of dating are very different from ours nowadays. Also, you're more likely to see characters that smoke in the 80s than you do now. And that's because our societal expectations have changed. There's both good and bad in romance, and while I don't personally like E.L. James and her writing, I do love the fact that because of her, an entire genre that was overlooked has now become popular and managed to end up on the New York Times best-selling list. While she did not create the genre, and no, it is not called mommy porn, it is called erotica, she benefited from the work of many others who have been writing for many years. With her help, and the fact that she managed to make it to the New York Times best-selling list, but large publishers are now paying attention to the small print authors that, with her help and the fact that she's managed to make it to the top of the New York Times bestsellers list and remained there for many, many months, she helped to make romance a contender and allowed large publishers to see what small publishers have known for many years. Publishers like Samhain Press, Aloris Cave, U Concepts Publishing, Loose Id, Siren Publishing, and many, many more already knew that women loved erotica, that women loved writing, reading, and purchasing books about great different adventures in their love lives. And while romance is not, you probably won't find E.L. James' book in the classics hundreds of years from now, the very fact that she was able to help bring this genre to the light is phenomenal. I'll read literary fiction, classics, or young adult, and there's nothing wrong with that. We love what we like, and we read to escape. We read to learn, we read to empathize, to go to new worlds, and to become better at what we do. Reading is an escape for us all, and there's nothing wrong with reading romance. Why don't you share in the comments down below what you think of my thoughts and ideas on romance. Do you think it's elitist, classist, and sexist to think that romance is somehow a dirty genre and therefore should not exist? Did it ever occur to you that your favorite classics were also part of the romance genre? What other titles do you think belong under romance? Share down in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. And I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye. When you consider that romance is one of the most